Good morning, Rabotai. Welcome to Breakfast in the Class. Welcome to all the people that we're zochet to see here today for the first time. Long-time listeners, first-time attenders. It's not usually this long or this late till we get started. Mechila, we apologize. Be'ezrat Hashem, we should be zochet to see all the refuah shlema that we're hoping for back here with us in the Beit Knesset, stronger than ever before. Be'ezrat Hashem. Eliyahu Ezra Ben Ilana Raglei Hasidav Yishmor. Be'ezrat Hashem, we'll see you back here and all the Gemara classes for all the great things that you do. There's so much love for you here in the Beit Knesset. We're looking forward to seeing you back very, very soon. The learning this week is dedicated by the Torah Center Gold owners Ash brothers Isaac and David Ash. Embrace Torah knowledge, learn with passion, do with purpose, give with generosity. Breakfast in the Class is also dedicated for the continued refuah shlema of Chara Bat Seba Fega and Eliyahu Shimon Mazal Fortuné, and as well Haim Fael ben Frida, Yitzhak ben Sarah, Yaakov ben Sarah, Yosef ben Hava, Nisan Michael ben Shifra, Noah Diana Batanes Flora Sarah, amongst Shar Holei Amo Yisrael. The co-brew is dedicated by David Yash in honor of you and your substantial capacity to good today and every day. Let's begin. The pasuk tells us V'hanisiim heviu et avnei hashoam et avnei hamiluim, and the nisiim, which means the ones that were elevated, they were raised up. The leaders, they went and brought avnei shoam, the stones that were used in the shoulders of the Bigdei Kehunah, ve'et avnei hamiluim, and the avanim, the stones that were miluim, they filled in on the breastplate. That's why they were called miluim, because they were stones that filled. What did they fill? They filled in the space on the choshen. These precious stones were brought by the nisiim. Now, what's interesting to me is Rashi tells us, he quotes, and the Midrash brings this idea, B'sha'ah shitchil Moshe Rabbeinu tasek. When Moshe began to collect the money for the work of the Mishkan, and every person, all the Bnei Israel, brought their terumah, the ones that their hearts were raised up, the ones that their spirit was generous. The Nisi'im said, Yinadvu kol echad lefi mashu chafetz. Let every person bring whatever they want to bring. Okay? Ve'achar kach, and afterwards, navo anachnu v'nashlim et hachaser. We will come and we will fulfill all of that which is left over. That was the Nisi'im's pledge. What they could not have foreseen, I don't know if you ever noticed this, but in all the financial commercials, they have a disclaimer. Please only answer amen if you're listening to this live. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, she'akol nהיה baro. What's the disclaimer? Come on, finance guys. Where are my bros? Past performance is not indicative of future results. Chazak Baruch. What does that mean? That means I'm about to mess you over. No, it means that you can't extrapolate what you're going to make because last time, or because last year, or because evidence shows. Why? Because we have no way of knowing if it will replicate the success before. So even though past performance is not indicative of future results, trends are there for a reason. Usually you're able to draw at least some knowledge, understanding from the way things performed. The Nisi'im, unfortunately, did not have this disclaimer in their minds because they were thinking past performance and future performance is indicative of results. Every time anyone had ever raised money for anything, they didn't have enough money up until that point, and from that point on. So there was never a scenario in which they raised money for tzedakah and immediately all the money was there. This is in 2 days they raised the money for the Mishkan. It's crazy. And the Nisi'im, what happens? They wind up locked out because they said whatever's missing, we'll pay. And because they tarried and they waited, there was nothing for them to give. So they felt terrible. So when it came time to make the clothing for the Kohen Gadol, they made sure they gave what they could. But that was the last bit that was outstanding, that was missing. When did Nisi'im do teshuvah for this? When they dedicate the Mizbeach, the Nisi'im all want to be first. And they all have the same intention. and they all bring the same korban. And the Torah recognizes that and mentions in the Parashat Nisi'im what each one of them gave, even though each one of them gave an identical korban. Okay? All this very well known. However, what is also well known is the second part of this. The second part of this is that because of this, because they waited, because they delayed, because they were not first into the breach, right? What happened? HaKadosh Baruch Hu removed the letter Yud from the name of the Nisi'im. In this pasuk that tells us that the Nisi'im brought the Avnei Shoam and the Avnei Miluim, it tells us V'han Nisi'im Vav Hey Nun Sin Aleph Mem. So it removed the Yud from Nisi'im. And that is there to indicate that they were less than. There was something that was missing from the Nisi'im. The Yud was missing. And that Yud represented the fact that they were missing a key midah, a key character trait, the trait of zirizut, which means to do something with energy, with alacrity. That's the word that they use. To do it first, to do it early. There's a mitzvah, we know, zirizin, makdimin le mitzvah. People that are zariz, not only do they do the mitzvah when you have to, but they do the mitzvah in the earliest possible time to be able to do the mitzvah. Like the pasuk tells us about Avraham Avinu, Vayakhel Avraham baboker. And Avraham got up early in the morning, and he saddles his donkey. Vayachavosh et chamoro. God had told him that he needed to go do this akedah. I don't know, if it was me, I would wait until the last possible minute. God didn't tell me I need to go in the morning. He didn't tell me I need to go at noon. Like in the seconds before Shkia, I would be doing the akedah. It wasn't an easy mitzvah to do. I would want to spend every extra second, in this pre-akedah state of mind that Avraham has with his son, with Yitzchak. And yet you see, Vayashkem Avraham baboker. My friends, the question is that in the Nisi'im's case, it's not cut and dried. I'll tell you something. I want you to imagine that I was doing a charity campaign for our synagogue, or for Chazak, or for any charity. And I approached any one of you here, and I said, our goal is to raise $1 million. And imagine you said to me, Rabbi, I'm here for you. Whatever you're missing to $1 million, you come to me, no worries, I'll fill the hole. So if you raise 500,000, no problem. I'll give you an extra $500,000. You raise 750, 250 from me. But you could go to sleep tonight, resting assured, very happy to know that the job is going to get done. I think I would give you a hug. I think I would be pretty happy. Obviously, if only if you were a man, okay? Yeah, I think I would give you a hug. I think I'd be very happy with that. I think every rabbi in the world, rabbi over here does beautiful projects. Imagine someone said to you, Rabbi, go to New York, see about someone who wants to sponsor a volume, right, of the Sfarim. But if anything's not sponsored, I'll cover the rest of it. You give the guy a hug, give him a Chazak Baruch. I don't think you want to start stealing letters from the guy's name. Listen, we need to have a talk. I understand your name is Yosef. From now on, you're Usef, right? I don't think that's going to happen. So on the one hand, we're punishing the Nisi'im for the lack of zirizut. On the other hand, we should be adding another yud for their generosity. What did they think based on past performance? There's always a hole. There's always an operating budget. A lot of people like to give money to specific things, but there's certain things that no one likes to give money to. Right? Sponja is one example, yes. What else do people not like to give money to? They like to give money to running programs. It's much easier to raise money to build a building than it is to raise the money to fill the building, to have classes in the building, to have minyanim in the building. And it's wild. You could spend $20 million on building a brand new state-of-the-art building that will be empty. It's crazy. So what are you doing? Why are you spending all that money on the shell which is meant to hold the thing when you don't have the thing? The answer, my friends, is not for today. Why people do that? Because that's not our topic for today. But what I do want to talk about is what's going on here with the Nisi'im. I saw a brilliant idea. What is the fastest thing in the language of Chazal? What do we talk about when we talk about the fastest animal? Is always referred to as, right? We say in the morning we say a person should be the Mishnah of Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema. A person should be Gibor Ka'ari. Ratz, you should run Katzvi. The fastest runner is called Tzvi, a runner, which is a deer, okay? A gazelle. That's what we call the fastest runner. Someone once asked me, Rabbi, that's not true. Fastest runner is a cheetah. I said the fastest runner for a very short distance is the cheetah. Chazal did not want you to run incredibly fast for under 1 minute. They wanted you to be able to run and run. Yelchu velo yafu. Right? Yarutsu. We want you to be able to go without becoming tired. We want you to be able to run. If you go and you burn out, you say, you know something? I need to learn Torah. I'm not learning enough Torah. Forget it. I'm learning the whole day. I'm not going to work. How long is that going to last? 1 day. Chazal don't want you to be able to do that. Listen carefully. So what did? We took the Yud from their name. What happens when you take the Yud from Tzvi? What are you left with? Tzav. In Hebrew, Tzav is a turtle. What's the slowest creature? The turtle. So the difference between Tzvi and Tzav is the Yud. Okay? So what are we left with? We're left with this idea that Yud symbolizes Zirizut. I want to add one extra point. The rabbi just gave me a beautiful book on Hilchot, on discussions on Hilchot Shabbat for our Bet Knesset. But what's beautiful, what's so interesting to me, on Hilchot Shabbat is exactly this point. On Shabbat, a person is not allowed to write. What are you not allowed to write? Two, as Nathan is showing me, two. You mean two, you don't mean victory sign, right? Two. You're right. You're not allowed to make, you're not allowed to write. Two. Two what? 2 letters. Now, what happens if I just touch the pen to the paper, lift it up, touch the pen to the paper, lift it up? I didn't make any letters. What's the answer, Adam? Oh, the smallest mark, right? Afilu kolshu is considered to be like a yud, because a yud is the smallest mark. What's the mark, the letter that takes the fastest to write then? Yud. So therefore, what was taken out of the letters of the Nisi'im is the letter, the smallest letter, the letter that takes a split second to write. That's so swift. Why? Because the Nisi'im were not Zariz. But the question is, you're punishing them for not being Zariz, but on the other hand, they were very generous. Why should the Nisi'im be punished for that? Why should the Nisi'im be thought of as less than for that? So I think that there's a couple answers. Let's answer the most simple answer first. The most simple answer is that really, had they been anybody else, they would not have been punished. They would not have been looked at negatively. You know why? Because it's true. They did something very generous. Beautiful. They did something very generous. We're happy for them, as is, don't disturb, don't rock the boat. Beautiful. Why were they punished? Because they're the Nisi'im. A leader doesn't lead from the back. You want to teach the people, you need to be first. So everybody else, maybe that's a cheshbon. Maybe zirizut at the expense of filling up the hole. Maybe one would balance out the other for anybody else. But for the Nisi'im, the ones that are supposed to lead, the ones that are supposed to show by example. Let me add one more bit, just for seasoning, just for flavor. There's a beautiful idea that we use in Talmudic logic. It's called mimanavshach. Now, a lot of people think that that's one word, mimanavshach. It's not one word. It's 2 words. What is the 2 words? Mima nafshecha. You know what that means? I'm going to give you not the literal translation, because when you use literal translations, a lot of Hebrew phrases make no sense at all. I remember translating using AI because I had to prepare a sheet for a class. I didn't have time to translate it to English, so I just took my phone and took a picture. I sent all the words to Google, no problem. Except every time it said the words af al gav, Google translated it nose on back, right? Which literally, af al gav means even though, but in Hebrew, af al gav literally means nose on back. So I got lots of different things. I gave it to the class. No one could read. The whole thing was gibberish. Okay? Now, listen to this. I'm going to give you this phrase. Mima nafshach means either way you go. I'll give you my favorite example of mima nafshach. I got into a cab to go to yeshiva. We mentioned this before. I tell the guy, 10 shekel. The guy starts arguing with me. 12 shekel. I used to take this ride every day. I knew exactly how much it cost. 10 shekel, 10 shekel. I said, slicha, 10 shekel. So he says, 12. I said, listen, I do this every day. I know what it costs. 10 shekel or I'm going to take another cab. The guy goes, Ya Allah, the kanisla, Anyway, get in the car. The whole way he's steaming, he's cursing, he's angry, right? Finally, we arrive at the yeshiva. He goes, Lo ma'amin, I don't believe you. He goes, Ata lochem iti al 2 shekel. Ma ze 2 shekel. I said, Rohi, you're fighting with me over 2 shekel, he says to me. I said, Rohi, sweetheart, Ata lochem iti, you're fighting with me al otam 2 shekalim. If I'm a behemah, because I'm fighting with you for 2 shekel, you're fighting with me for the same 2 shekel. If I'm a behemah, you're a behemah. Let's move together. That's mimma nafshach. Mimma nafshach means you can't have this both ways. It's the same thing either way. Let me give you mimma nafshach. Nisi'im, why are you the people that are saying we're going to fill the hole? Because you don't believe that we're going to get all the money, right? You don't believe that the people are going to be generous. That's why you're saying, I'm going to fill the hole. But if you don't believe that the people are going to give the money, what should you have done? You should have shown, by example, you should have gone first. So there's a mimma nafshach on the Nisim. Got it? However, the second answer that I want to give you is not an answer which is reserved for the Nisim. The second answer is a concept that I think what the Torah was trying to drive home in each and every one of us. And that is very simple. You know why we removed the Yud from the Nisi'im? We removed the Yud from the Nisi'im not just because it's the fastest letter to write. And also, not just because that's the only way to write the word. I'd still skip a letter. The answer, my friends, is much more profound, I believe. The Yud in the Hebrew alphabet not only represents the smallest letter, the fastest letter, but also represents HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Yud represents Hashem. As an example, a writing of Yud and Yud, 2 of these letters, creates God's name. We don't have other 2 letters that together write God's name. Only that letter, right? So Yud represents Hashem. We find one other example in the Torah of someone who gets up early in the morning. Bil'am. He gets up early in the morning. Why? Time to make the donuts. Who remembers that? Right? Not because of that. Not because it's time to make the donuts. What's the reason? Because he's going to go curse the Jews. Huh? He runs to do evil. Why does Bil'am run to do evil? Why? Why is he running? Anyone? Why? What's the run? What's the rush for Bil'am to curse the Jews? Getting paid. He's getting paid. Not only is he getting paid, he's getting paid in the 2 favorite currencies of Bil'am HaRasha. Money and honor. Money and honor. How do we know that? Because Balak tells him, I'm going to give you, I wanted to give you so much honor. The currency was honor. What does Bil'am say to him? If you would fill my whole house with kesef v'zahav, I couldn't disobey God. What is Bil'am telling him? Fill my house with gold and silver. So Bil'am, what motivates Bil'am, what gets Bil'am up in the morning is his hatred, is his desire for money. His sin'ah and his kin'ah gets Bil'am up in the morning. My friends, what wakes up Abraham in the morning? The desire to fulfill God's will. So it is God, it is the God in Abraham that motivates Avraham to run, to go early. It's not that God punished the Nisi'im by taking a yud from their name when they were lackadaisical about giving money to the Bet HaMikdash. It was that there was no yud in their name when they did not give money with zirizut to the Bet HaMikdash. It wasn't a punishment, but an expression of the reality as it was manifest on the ground. The Nisi'im did not, they were lacking the yud in their name. The element of godliness that was motivating them, it was missing. So therefore there was no zirizut. My friends, that means that it's possible to be generous and still lack that godly spark that motivates a person to do something right away. A mitzvah that comes to your hand, al tachmitzena, run to do it. You have an opportunity to help someone, don't say tomorrow. Find the earliest possible time, not the latest possible time to be able to do it. And the reason why you do that is because, very simple, that is where God is in your name. That is where God is in your consciousness. Where? Where we can see what you run toward, what gets you up early in the morning, what is exciting for you. So my friends, what should the Nisi'im have done if they wanted to fill the hole thinking that was going to be a problem? I have a simple solution, Nisi'im. Give twice, give early, and give what's left. They tell a story about, I think it was with the Brisker of. Fellow comes in, and the man tells him about how it's terrible, and his wife, and his children, and the thing, and tuition, and food, one thing after the next. The guy has so many problems. Heartbreaking. Anyway, the rabbi gives him a donation. After the rabbi gives him a donation, he's about to leave. As he's ready to leave the door, the rabbi calls him back. Comes back again, and the rabbi gives him again another donation. The fellow feels a little bit confused. Why did the rabbi call him back to give him twice? And the Brisker Rav said something very interesting. He said, the first time I gave you, you came in here with all these problems. He says, I gave you out of guilt. I felt so guilty. You have all these problems, you have all these issues. Here I am, Baruch Hashem, I'm fine, I'm healthy, I have a job, I have this, I have that. I felt guilt. But when you were leaving, I realized I don't want to give you out of guilt. I want to give you out of love, out of mercy, out of kindness. I want to give you. Sometimes when you're writing a check or you're giving that money, you just want this uncomfortable feeling that's up in your face to go away. I want to feel better about myself. So here, take this. But that's not about you. That's about me. And that's not what chesed is ever supposed to be about. So the Brisker Rav called him back again, because there was purpose in giving 2 times. My friends, what if we had learned that lesson? What if the Nisi'im had understood that lesson? That we need to fight against laziness. They tell a story about Rav Aaron from Belz. I love this example. He wasn't feeling well. So his father told him, you're not feeling well. I forbid you from going to the mikveh. You're going to get sick. Anyway, they noticed that the rabbi was still going to the mikveh. And they couldn't believe it. Father told you explicitly not to go to the mikveh. You're going anyway. Anyway, they followed the rabbi. They see the rabbi goes to the mikveh, gets ready, takes off his clothing, stands next to the mikveh, gets dressed again and comes home. He doesn't go. He wasn't going to the mikveh. They asked him, what are you doing? He says, my father told me I can't go to the mikveh. I go every day. But now that I'm not going, who's to say that I'm not going to the mikveh because my father told me I can't? And who's to say I'm not going to the mikveh because my bed is so comfortable and the covers are so warm and I'm a little bit lazy? So I go to the mikveh, I get up out of bed, I vanquish the Yetzer Hara of laziness, of sleepiness. I go there, and then I don't go to the mikveh. Now, I looked at that, you think about, you guys sound silly. When you go to the mikveh and not going to the mikveh, what are you doing? No, you're missing the point. All of the mitzvot that are in the Torah, the deed itself is there for a purpose. It's there to help you conquer one of the midot of the human condition. Every single mitzvah. It's meant to attack a specific problem. One is to attack your stinginess. One is to attack your lack of care. One is to attack your laziness. Each element of each mitzvah is designed in the spiritual world to complete and to better the person. So my friends, you can't do the mitzvah for whatever reason. How close to the mitzvah could you get? I knew a fellow, a very holy man, who was very wealthy. He used to spend every minute of his day learning. Listen to this. I remember this. I'm getting emotional remembering the story. There was a fellow I know who was very, very wealthy and very holy. He would spend every extra minute learning. He gave, you don't know how much money to tzedakah, until he came across very difficult times. Anyway, sometimes when you have a guy like that everybody needs, everybody goes to visit him. They all need lots of different things from him. But when he lost all of his money, who went to visit him? Nobody. Their relationship was based, not because they don't care about him, but every person has a tzedakah, they have a this, they have a that. So all these people that were there, that needed him, that were there in his circle because of, suddenly they didn't want to go, they didn't want to embarrass him. Anyway, the fellow had unbelievable emunah, special man. I went to his house one day, unannounced. I just went, I figured I'll go give him a chizuk. I went to the house, I knock on the door, come into the study, I sit down, and I notice that he has on the desk, nobody's there, but he has written out checks to all these different organizations for huge amounts. And I thought, oh my gosh, maybe nobody knows that the guy still has money or found extra money somewhere else or giving tzedakah privately. My brain is flying. Maybe the whole thing about him losing money is not true. Anyway, he sees me looking at the checks. He tries to cover it. But I saw already. So I said to him, is there something I don't know? He's very embarrassed. I felt terrible of even asking him. He goes, no. I said, I'm happy to see that you're writing checks to all these organizations. He says, no. I said, please tell me. I want to understand. Mechila. The guy says, fine, Rabbi, I'll tell you. He says, all these years I wrote these checks and I had money to cover it. He says, but I was thinking, now I have no money to cover it. It was God who was giving the money to these organizations, and all I was doing before was writing the checks. So I decided, Hashem, I'm going to do my part. I'm going to write out the checks. If you decide that I should get the money back, these checks are already prepared, they're already written. The guy was writing checks. Sometimes you write a check, you're pre-writing, you're post-dating a check. This guy had no money to cover the checks. But he wanted so bad to do the mitzvot that on the chance that his bank account would be filled with millions of dollars, and he wasn't writing, he gave each organization what he gave them at the height of his wealth. The check was already written out, waiting for the day that the money would hit his account and the check would already be prepared. I gave the man the biggest hug I could give him. What a special person. Zrizim makdimin le-mitzvah means you can't do the mitzvah. Okay, how close could you get to the mitzvah and not do it? You don't have money to be able to give like you used to be able to give, no problem. You have friends, maybe speak to them. Maybe use your desire to help aid the guy, coach him on how you would have liked to be pitched. There's so many ways you could give money to an organization. One way to give money to an organization is by giving money to an organization. Another way might be to allow them to honor you. Another way at a dinner. Another way might be to make a suggestion or to brainstorm with them who else they could call. Another way might be to coach them. Another way might be to use your business savvy to help the tzedakah. I had someone once in this community actually who said, I have no money left for tzedakah. I finished all my tzedakah for the year, but I want to meet with the organization. I said, what are you meeting with them for? For next year? He said, no. He said, but I'm a businessman. I spent all my time and effort working. The way I made my money was by making my business super efficient. I want to go over their books. I called the rabbi. I said, the guy says he has no money, but he wants to look at your books. He says he has no money, wants to look at my books. I said, yes. Why? He's an efficiency expert in his business. This is how he made all of his money. I said, show him the books. First of all, maybe he'll give you a donation next year. Second of all, maybe he'll help. The guy came back to me and he says, I want you to know that this guy looking over our books with his connections, with suppliers, with this, with that, he gave me the equivalent of being our largest donor this year. And he didn't give me $1. He saved us and he connected us with people and he called in favors and it wound up being monetarily zero. But what he saved us, what he gave us, is larger than the biggest donor that we have in our entire donor list. That's what Zirizim Makdimi means. I can't wait to do this mitzvah. And even if I can't do it, I'm going to do it anyway. I'll find another way. That's the Yud in a person's name. Baruch Adonai Le'olam. Amen ve'amen. Rabbi Chananya ben Akasha.